Hello, and welcome back to the Kathy Houchins Stories. I'm Kathy Houchins, and I'm delighted that you're here with me. What would you do if you discovered everything you trusted was a lie? You're about to find out what would happen in the Sisterhood Chronicles. This is episode 3 of those chronicles, and we're going to take a dive deeper into the story of Bella, the woman whose trust started it all. Now, fair warning, Bella's journey will break your heart before it rebuilds it stronger than ever. Isabella Bonnet Donator. Now, she was known as Bella to everybody. She was born as the pillar of trust. She radiated the kind of faith that made people around her believe in themselves. All the sisters were graduating from high school at the same time, and they were going off to find their place in the world. Eleanor, Luna, and Evie all had universities to attend, but Bella, she headed to New York City chasing after her lifelong dream of modeling. Now, she didn't just chase it, she caught it. She became a celebrity in the fashion industry with houses competing for her attention. She finally selected a particular house to work under contract for and set up her scheduling for various shoots over the next few months. Now, here's where her story takes a turn. Her fashion house sends her to Barcelona, Spain for a particular fashion shoot there, and she meets David. Now, I want to read a section of that meeting when they run into each other right out of her book. This is the Sisterhood Story of Bella. It's book number 1. Bella happened to be at the courthouse that very same day doing a photo shoot of her new business attire clothing line for the fashion house she was working for. It was kismet, they would tell others later. David was leaving the building when he ran smack into Bella, who was heading inside to go to the ladies' restroom. They collided and looked and shocked at each other at first, and then started to laugh. Bella began apologizing for not paying attention. David couldn't believe how beautiful this woman was. He was hanging on to her for dear life, and all he could do was stare at her. He couldn't seem to let go of her, and her smile took his breath away. He just kept staring. He didn't hear her saying, "I am so sorry, I didn't see you. Do you speak any English?" With no answer, Bella assumed that he didn't, and she was calling for a translator to come over and help her. One of those staffers came running to her side and began to translate what she was saying to this man who was holding on to her. Finally, David realized what was happening and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You just surprised me so much that I was lost for words. I speak English, and I too am sorry that I've only just now run into you. Where have you been all my life?" And with that said, he laughed out loud about how ridiculous that sounded. Both David and Bella were laughing together, and he finally let go of her. She excused herself as she was on a mission and needed to find that ladies' room post haste. They both again laughed, and she marched off towards the women's bathroom. I was going to say another paragraph, but I'm going to let you read that. This is where I don't want to spoil their entire courtship. You have to read it to really grasp the romance and everything that was going on. But let me tell you this, they both fell hard. Now, Bella had to go back to New York after the photo shoot, and this is how fast this relationship developed. David went back with her. They set up their life together on Long Island, commuting back and forth to Manhattan every single day. Life couldn't be better for Bella. David plans an incredible surprise and takes Bella back to Valencia, Spain, where they had visited before. Bella was absolutely delighted, and he also had another surprise waiting for her when they got there. Bella was happier than she had ever been. After a bit of this back and forth, they went back to New York and back and forth. Bella got tired of missing her family and her friends, and mostly her other sisters. She contacts Evie, the real estate broker in town, one of her sisters, to find her a home in Hamp's Bayou. Evie finds the perfect home for Bella. David and Bella begin their trips back and forth to Hamps Bayou from Long Island. Now, here's what Bella doesn't know. David has been having meetings with someone called the boss, a Mr. Delgado. And these aren't your typical meetings. There's mystery here. So much mystery that even David starts questioning what's going on. He begins to make his own plans. A few years pass by, and Bella stops taking modeling jobs and launches her own modeling and fashion magazine. She's only 32 years old and has already made quite a name for herself in the industry. She opens up an office right there in Hamps Bayou, and she and David move there permanently. David keeps promising that he's going to move his New York office down there, and that promise still hasn't happened. So Bella begins setting up her office in Hamps Bayou. She hires Anne as her assistant. Anne learns everything she can to be the perfect assistant for Bella. And something very interesting happens. There's a remarkable resemblance between Anne and Bella. Everyone in town is talking about it. So, it starts with a phone call. Eleanor, who runs the bank in town, she also has connections everywhere. She receives a suspicious inquiry about David. Someone from a bank in Nassau in the Bahamas called about a large amount of money being moved out of her bank to theirs. Was the amount in question actually available? Well, these kind of money transfers only happen when someone's planning something out of the ordinary. Eleanor starts digging deeper, and what she found would change everything. But I can't tell you the details. You'd have to read about it in Bella's book to discover the full scope of David's betrayal. Now, this is called the gathering. When one sister is in crisis, the sisters call a gathering. These aren't casual coffee meetings. They're formal rituals. This is where the sisters come together to protect one another. Eleanor calls the gathering, and Bella wants to host it. So Bella has no idea that her world is about to implode. Now I want you to picture this. The gathering opens. You'll read about the ritual of everything that goes on, this symbolism all the way through that gathering, the whole opening ritual. But each of the sisters have their own position. Eleanor's in one place, Evie's in one, Luna's in one, and Bella's in another. So Bella's sitting at her place at the gathering table, and Eleanor begins to methodically lay out the evidence that will shatter everything that Bella knows and thought she knew about her marriage, her assistant Anne, and her own family. The revelations are so devastating, so completely shocking, that I don't want to spoil them here for you. But trust me, you won't see them coming. Let me read a section of what Bella's feeling when this is going on. Several minutes passed, and it seemed like hours to a couple of the sisters, but Bella finally had gathered herself together and began to speak. Eleanor, I am sure this was very painful for you to have to tell me all of this, and I'm thankful that you had the courage to bring this to me. Having you and the rest of you on my side brings me great happiness, and and having you and the rest of you on the same side with me brings me peace. But needless to say, the pain of learning all this is almost overwhelming. I had no idea any of this was going on, and the shock alone is enough to cause great pain. But the overall thought of what is happening is even more outrageous, and it has now caused my blood to begin to boil. There's always two sides to every story, so I want to hear the other side, if I may, before coming to a final conclusion. Bella sighed with a heavy sigh, as all of them pretty much let out a long breath. Bella continued with, I'm requesting that no action take place until I've heard the other side of the story. Eleanor, who had lowered her head while Bella was talking, had lifted it at the end to explain to everyone. Bella, I totally agree that there are two sides to every story, and because of that, I did something else to provide the proof. I want to finish reading the rest of this paragraph, but it'll give away too much. So you need to read it. That's on page 69 to find out what the additional proof is. So what Bella further discovers, didn't just break her heart, it broke her physically. The woman who had been the pillar of trust for everyone else suddenly found herself in a world where she couldn't trust anyone. Now here's where the story gets fascinating. The sisters have a process. When one of them is hurt or in the crisis, that particular sister must leave the room while the others consider a course of action. So Bella, shattered, broken, unable to trust, has to trust her sisters now to handle the situation. This is the ultimate test of whether she could trust anyone at all. Let's move to chapter 7, the next 24 hours. This will take you on quite a journey. Now, Bella is removed out of town. When the sisters come out of their meeting, out of the gathering, they take some action right off the bat. And actually, let me read to you out of this one section that tells you what happens. Eleanor made a few phone calls, and everything was lined up. A private jet would whisk Bella out of town immediately. She needed to be gone before David returned from being out of town. Eleanor got her on the plane as quickly as possible. So, in this chapter, you're going to learn that Eleanor is taken out of town. David begins to finalize his plans. The sisters begin their investigation. You'll learn how they do that. And then Anne starts to see her plans of revenge come together. All of her planning is starting to fill in like she had planned. I don't want to reveal everything that happens, but I will say this. It's nice to have friends in the right places. Sometimes trust has to be broken completely before it can be rebuilt on a stronger foundation. The pillar of trust had to crumble so that Bella could learn what real trust actually looks like. And sometimes when someone betrays your trust, the best response isn't forgiveness, it's justice. What makes this story so powerful is how the sisters didn't comfort Bella, just comfort her. They protected her and made sure there were real consequences for the people who wanted to destroy her. What happens from here will amaze you and can show you what true loyalty and trust can accomplish. I would love to hear what you think of the sisters, how the sisters handled this situation, and what you think of the story so far. Remember, this is just the beginning. So, okay, next time we're going to explore Eleanor, the pillar of respect who controls more than just the town bank. Eleanor's tragedy will show us that even the strongest leaders need their sisters when the unthinkable happens. So let's also see that, let me remind you that the 5 books, Sisterhood, Story of Bella, Eleanor's Story, Luna's Legacy, and Evie's Evelations, and the Unveiling of the Truths are all available on Amazon and ebook, and then the combination book where they're all together, that is on lulu.com, and that's a hardcover. You can get the soft cover paperback book in also on Amazon. So I'm Kathy Houchins. I look forward to seeing you at the next episode. And until next time, remember, some bonds are stronger than betrayal, and the best revenge is a sisterhood that has your back. Looking forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.